Alts are driven by the business cycle. So with the business cycle currently low, we haven't had alt season. And everyone's like, I can't believe they've robbed us of alt season. It's never going to happen. There's too many tokens. We can't have nice things and all of that bullshit we hear all day. It's not. It's just the economy's stupid, because what happens is when earnings go up, when the business cycle is strong, you have more earnings and you invest those earnings further out the risk curve. It's just really basic stuff. It happens for exactly the same as small caps, exactly the same with junk bonds, credit. They all operate in exactly the same way, and the business cycle has been subdued. Listen to Scott Bessent. He's telling you all day, as is Trump, is we're going to have a banner year next year. Why? Because they're going to jam the market with liquidity, and they're going to jam fiscal stimulus through as well. Yeah, if you think about it, the US is a service-based economy. They're going to get rid of tax on tips. That's a huge boost to people. There's like $1.5 trillion that will flow into the banking system just from that stuff alone, from the big, beautiful bill. Then we've got the changes to the SLR that allows maybe $3 or $4 trillion of credit creation from the banking system. We've got enormous amounts of this stuff lining up. Why? Because they wanted to win the election. You know, the good thing is, for once, we've actually got a macro hedge fund manager running the treasury. So I know how he thinks. He was a long-term global macro investor subscriber. I've known him for 20 years, and he understands the game, which is jam the business cycle going into the elections. So we've got that. We've got the debt to roll. It's kind of stacking up, and it tells you your beloved, or our beloved, alt season is still to come.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news related channel. And as you guys can tell, we're saving the Jake Claver clip for the second portion of this episode. And that's a joke to kind of kick off today's show. We are looking at a market that's going through a short-term bearish trend. Bitcoin back below $90,000, currently trading at about $89,500. We got Ethereum trading at about $31.74. XRP trading at $1.99 this morning. But in regards to the optimism, we got a brand new XRP ETF live on the CBOE as 21Shares, a $7 billion asset manager, just launched their first ever XRP spot product inside the United States. We're also going to show you all something really interesting in regards to the circulating supply of XRP. And now over the past 4 weeks, we have seen $1.3 billion worth of XRP gone from exchange 4 weeks. Now, I repeated that twice because I find it so interesting that this correlates to when the XRP ETF was launched inside the United States. I'm anticipating some major moves are coming, guys. And I've been sharing this Raoul Pal sentiment since early October, where I believe we are going to have a bullish and an optimistic 2026. And it seems like many of the industry experts out there seem to agree with me. We already have over 1,000 live listeners here joining us. If you're excited and you enjoy this content, show us some love. Smash that like button, and trust me, we're going to start off with some very exciting content for our listeners, because not only did the 21Shares XRP ETF go live, they confirmed, and you're hearing this correctly, Bank of America and Santander are using or testing the XRP ledger technology. What I'm showing you guys right now is directly from the announcement on the 21shares.com website, and we're going to go through this paragraph right here in the initial filing. It said, growing institutional use for the XRP ledger. Many financial institutions, including Santander, Bank of America, and SBI Holdings, use or test XRP-powered infrastructure for cross-border settlement, selling the XRP ledger for official payment solutions. And I'm going to take you guys through a lot of these announcements later on in the episode. But one thing is more clear than ever. All the people who are doubting institutional adoption, who are so focused on some of the short-term price action that they're missing the major updates that are happening on a daily basis, we are watching the institutional adoption take place. And in this filing here, as you guys are going to see, 21Shares says that the XRP ledger was built for institutional adoption. And now that this market is becoming regulated, the floodgates have officially opened. We are ready to see that institutional adoption take place here inside the United States. So again, we are only 4 minutes into the episode. We got over 1,800 live listeners, over 1,200 watching on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, show us some love, smash that like button, and let's set the ambitious goal of breaking 800 likes on today's episode. Anything is possible in the Matrix, my friend, and we already passed 200 on today's show. Now we are getting right into the breaking news once again. The 21Shares XRP ETF just went live on the CBOE. And I've been tracking this data using my favorite website here, the XRP Investor. Now, all of our listeners who want access to XRP ETF data should click on the link below and sign up for my friend's app. This is Mar-a-Lago Mario's product built entirely by himself. So check it out, guys. And the best part, you can sign up for free. This is a free application. Click on the link down below. I'd encourage everybody to test it out. Now, why is it so relevant? Gives us the inflows, gives us the averages, gives us the opens and the closes. But why am I excited about covering this on today's episode? Because starting this morning, there is another XRP ETF that needs to be tracked on a daily basis. We already have about 146,000 shares that have been traded during this trading session alone. And what I find so interesting about this analysis, guys, is that all of these companies that we had to speculate on, that we were debating, we were guessing, will this occur? It's officially happening here inside the United States. We don't have to second guess ourselves. We don't have to think, will these companies launch? They're all launching these products, and we're finally tracking the inflows here. Now, what am I getting into in regards to Bank of America? We're going to dive into that news right here. So this is the official announcement from the 21SHARES website that they were launching an XRP ETF product inside the US. The 21SHARES XRP ETF provides direct exposure to XRP, a digital asset built to make cross-border payments faster, more affordable, and more reliable than traditional payment systems. XRP runs on the decentralized XRP ledger, which is used globally for payment providers, banks, fintechs aiming to modernize an international settlement. Now, what I find great about this is I showed you guys a video yesterday out of JP Morgan's CEO. And again, these guys have not spoken XRP. XRP is like Voldemort. It is the name that shall not be spoken by the bankers. This is a primary example of that, as well as Bank of America is working on the XRP ledger. Here's what JP Morgan had to say.
Blockchain is real. It's been around for quite a while, but now it's becoming more effective, more efficient, because people are finding ways to do it faster and cheaper, permissioned or not permissioned. Smart contracts, I think, will probably be real. Blockchain is real. It's been around for quite a while, but now it's becoming more effective, more efficient, because people are finding ways to do it faster and cheaper, permissioned or not permissioned. Smart contracts, I think, will probably be real. Blockchain is real. It's been around for quite a while, but now it's becoming more effective, more efficient, because people are finding ways to do it faster and cheaper, permissioned or not permissioned. Smart contracts, I think, will probably be real.
There you have it, guys. That is essentially why people are excited about the XRP ledger. Now, when we talk about the investment objective here, according to 21SHARES, the XRP ETF seeks to track the performance of XRP and is measured by the performance of the CME-CF XRP dollar reference rate. Now, in seeking to achieve its investment objective, the fund will hold XRP and will value its shares on a daily basis based on this pricing benchmark. Now, we're transforming global payments here using the XRP token. Traditional cross-border transfers can take up to a day and cost up to 6% per transaction. One XRP enables transactions in under 5 seconds for a fraction of a cent, offering a modern alternative to the legacy payment rails. We're also seeing institutional growing use cases here, as many financial institutions, including Santander, Bank of America, and SBI Holdings, use or test the XRP-powered infrastructure for cross-border settlement. And this reminds me of a clip that I showed you all several months ago, all the way back, I believe it was in January of 2025, during the Donald Trump election cycle. And what we realized was that there was an insider who came out and said 100% of Bank of America's internal settlement has been done on the XRP ledger over the past couple of years, that we've known for years are happening in the background. And my assumption is we're going to see a lot more revelations here starting in 2026. Now, let's break down the other portion of this. So Raul Paul, we opened up with him outlining what the 4-year cycle could look like. Let's get into the breaking news about how it may play out in regards to the debt cycle. Here it is.
We had this perfect 4-year cycle. And this is where everybody's scratching their heads right now, is what the hell's going on? Has the cycle finished? That's the big question everyone debates all day. And for me, you can see what's happened here. There used to be this perfect 4-year cycle, and suddenly it's changed. Well, what happened here is we've added an extra year. In 2022, at the beginning of 22, rates were still at 0, and they extended the debt maturity by a year to 5 years. So we've got an extra year in the equation. So all of the debts that need to get rolled in 2026 and not 2025. So that's why we've had less liquidity than we've expected at this point. the banana zone point in the cycle has had less liquidity. I only really found this out over the summer when I redid the maths on all of this and realized, okay, wow, they've actually changed the structure of liquidity here. So when we change it to the new 5.4 year where the debt maturity is, this is what we're going to get. So again, it gives you an idea that we're probably likely to peak out towards the end of 2026 in terms of liquidity, as opposed to this year. So probabilistically speaking, which is how I think about the world, we've got further to go and we've got the big liquidity burst to come.
There you have it, guys. And my projection is that because of this debt cycle, we are going to see an optimistic 2026. I want to give a big thank you to the Long Game, bro. He just became an official member of the Good Evening Crypto community, and we are up to 255 members, guys. So I want to give a massive shout out and thank you. I also wanted to point out this comment in chat. So we got a live donation here. Richard says, any drawings on GEC? I want that hat. Thank you, Abs. We will be doing a live giveaway, I think later on this week. Me and Johnny are planning that for a late night stream. So if we end up doing a Saturday or a Friday night stream, we will be giving away free merch on the show. So if you're excited about that, but guys, I'd love to hear ones in chat if you are excited about this announcement. Bank of America, Santander, and SBI Holdings all confirmed by 21Shares to be using or testing the XRP-powered infrastructure for cross-border settlement. Some governments are exploring the XRP ledger for official payment solutions. The institutions are now admitting that the governments around the world are tapping into the XRP ledger, and this correlates with some of the largest financial institutions on the planet. Now, I do want to play a quick Jake Claver clip for you all as he outlines exactly what we could be seeing towards the back end of the year, and maybe we can debate, will all of this come to fruition in 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year? We'll get into it later on in the episode. We do already have 2,400 live listeners here. If you're enjoying this content, show us some love. Smash that like button. The live viewers were going wild, guys. I opened up, there was 800, it went to 1,200, went back to 800, back up to 1,100. So whatever's going on this morning, if you want to help us out, smash that like button. Let's overcome a little bit of that algorithm adversity, as we like to say, my friends. But let's break down this clip. Here we go.
AJ, he says, great seeing you again. Don't be upset at those who keep asking about the end of the year price. You're a beacon of light for so many. Stay the course, brother. Appreciate you, man. Look, and I've said this lots of times, I am extremely confident that you see a significant jump in XRP's price this year to 3 digits. I wouldn't come on here and say it if I wasn't. I wouldn't say that I'm 99.99999% sure if I really wasn't. Now, it requires catalysts. And with the seizing of the oil tanker today, with everything that is transpiring, with all of these situations that are taking place with the CFTC and the OCC and all of the regulators running toward this asset class to be able to use it, I'm highly confident, again, that we are going to see at least the settlement, maybe some swift adoption, maybe the back end of the stock market, but you're going to have enough liquidity in the asset. We are going to have to see a huge rotation of volume into XRP through the ETFs. We got 21Shares going live tomorrow. We also have 2 other ETFs that I'll speculate on. You got Truth Social, which has a 19% allocation to XRP. And you have BlackRock that filed the ETF, just BlackRock ETF. And they haven't filed the S1 to show what's in it yet. But they filed, and it's either an 8A or an order those numbers are in, but it's a filing basically stating that they're going to file for that BlackRock ETF. I'm going to speculate that the BlackRock ETF that doesn't say anything about XRP in the name is going to be predominantly XRP. And if that is the case, then that is going to be the catalyst for the big move into XRP. We got Vanguard offering these ETFs to their clients here recently. It's all culminating for the end of the year for everybody to have a very, very fun Christmas here in 2025.
And somebody said, Abs, what is your birthday wish here? Guys, it is my birthday Monday, December 15th. So I'm saving that birthday wish. But if I had to share it with the Good Evening Crypto chat, my one thing I want for my birthday is for Jake Claver's prediction to come to fruition, guys. I'm just kidding. But the reality is I am really excited about a lot of the things that Jake has to say. And his entire thesis here is built around oil spiking. We started to see that yesterday with what happened in Venezuela, the seizing of the oil ship. maybe some of these catalysts will start to work out in our favor. Now, I do think it's very important to note, $100 XRP, $750 XRP. I don't fall into that camp. I've never fallen into that camp. What I've showed you guys is that I'm anticipating $4.50 is the next breakout. Take that for what you will. Say, Abs, you're crazy. I think we're going higher. Say, that's too low, whatever you may think. That is my unbiased personal opinion. Now, why do I think we're going to 450? Because I'm looking at it from a chart perspective. I'm not looking at it the same way that Jake is observing in this short video, where he's focused on catalysts, he's focused on oil, he's focused on Japan. I'm simply looking at what's happening from a macroeconomic standpoint here inside the United States. And I'm saying, wow, in early 2026, if we can get a bull market, I'm anticipating $4.50. Then if we break that with volume, $6.30, then I'm anticipating $8.40. And if things get amazing, just based on liquidity, not the Jake trade, we're talking $12. So that's kind of the realistic perception that I've had. I think it's very reasonable. I think it's not going to take some exuberant amount of catalyst in order to see that. Now, there's a whole separate situation that we can outline, which is Jake's predictions, right? Jake has the thesis about the Japanese carry trade playing out, the interest rates being raised, and a lot of those things are coming to fruition right now. So I do want to give a shout out to this person. They said, Big Rich says, sorry, Abs, I prefer Jake's prediction. Not only do I also prefer Jake's prediction, I'm rooting for him to be right and me to be wrong. But I love Jake's optimism, and I love the fact that his confidence is unwavering. Now, again, this is December 11th, 2025. He's saying in the next 3 weeks. So we're going to be here, right? We'll be live January 1st to discuss these things. And I'm going to look forward to interviewing Jake in 2026, as I'm sure he's going to have a revised catalyst here, as people often do. Now, tying this back into what Raul Paul had to say at the beginning of the show was that the charts are based on liquidity cycles. And if we focus on the liquidity of the crypto market, 2025 was a very sideways year. It was just a massive year of capitulation. Whether you owned Bitcoin, which entered the year at 93,000, it's now trading at 89. Ethereum entered the year at about $3,000. It's now about $3,000. XR98, I think, or maybe $2.10. We're trading at $1.99. So it has just been a very flat, boring, sideways year for the entire blockchain space. And I do think there's a lot of pent-up demand that should come to fruition at the end of the liquidity cycle here that we're set to experience in the spring of 2026. And this isn't some outlandish, long thesis here. It really is the thing that we've seen time and time again. The liquidity cycle correlated perfectly to the 4-year narrative. Now we had the liquidity cycle extended by a year, and it looks like the bull market could have been extended by an entire calendar year. But I want to hear from the live chat. One's in chat for yes, two's in chat for no. Do you believe 2026 is going to be a bullish year for digital assets? Now, I think announcements like today make me extremely confident. And if you're just joining the episode, we did already cover the news that 21Shares just launched another spot crypto ETF product inside the United States. But I think the most important part of this announcement here is what they confirmed for the XRP community. And somebody said, this news is 4 years old. They're like, we've known this. Guys, I've been doing this show since 2022. I've covered the Bank of America and Ripple connections forever. We've never had a company like 21Shares put out a public announcement saying, yeah, Bank of America is using the XRP ledger. Santander is using the XRP ledger. SBI Holdings, that one we've seen. We've seen SBI Holdings, but they're a Japanese company, so I think it's a little bit different. The major announcement that we got today out of 21Shares was that financial companies like Bank of America, Santander, and SBI use or test the XRP-powered infrastructure for cross-border settlement. They even went as far as to say that some governments are exploring the XRP ledger for official payment solutions. And now, a lot of times, it's not what's said, but it's who says it. And here's a great example of this. Somebody can come out and say $1,000 XRP tomorrow, and they can know what they're talking about, but it won't matter. But if somebody like Elon Musk came out and said, I believe in the future of XRP, that would have a direct impact on the long-term and short-term growth of this project. And so that's the kind of sentiment that I think our listeners should be aware of, where it's not what is being said, but who is sharing that information. And I want to get into this announcement right here from the Paul Barron podcast. Now, there's two different analogies because we have to be prepared. There's a certain amount of people who think we're going into a bear market. I don't think that's the case. But this analyst right here, I think his name is Evan something, he does a pretty good analysis about what could the bear market bottom be for some of these assets. And again, I don't fall into the camp that we're entering a bear market, but it's important to show both sides of the equation. People will often say, why do you cover so much of Jake's content if you don't think we're going to $700? because I think there's certain things that are applicable, right? I don't think that maybe we're going to go that high in price, but I do think there may be a reverse carry trade that plays out, and that could set up a whole cascading effect for the entire crypto space. Same idea here. If we go into a bear market, which I don't believe, this is what Evan is outlining for the potential bottoms on many of our favorite assets. Let me know what you guys think, and then we'll break it down. Here it is.
4 to 6 months, which is good. I do think that when you look at, let's just look at the XRP chart right now, the normal chart. Now, you've been very range bound here. You kind of just been in this range. A lot of us were hoping that you'd break up to $6. I think you eventually will break up, within a few years, hopefully, maybe sooner. We'll see. But, I think that if you can, I think the big thing is you're eventually going to break upward or break downward. If you break downward, you got like one target at like 115 here. Now, this is a 45% drop down.
Yeah.
And that would be, the XRP could drop down 45% and still theoretically outperform Bitcoin, because Bitcoin could drop down to like 40, 45K or something. And that would still be a better kind of performance there. So we got to look at that situation now. What a lot of people or XRP bulls would hope for is a break up. And I hope that we could break up to, kind of these areas right here. But when I look at kind of my EMAs here.
So just to highlight the areas, look at what he has on his price charts. Very similar to what I just showed you guys. He said the first range is $4.26. The second would be $6. Now, again, this is a completely different analysis because we're just observing the price charts and talking about liquidity. But I think this is a much more realistic short-term goal for people. If we start to see $4 and $6, it's largely going to depend on what the narrative is at the time. But that could be a great sign for the XRP community. But let's let this clip play.
Like it is like your 4-day EMAs. See how they're turning gray right here? Last time they went from like gray to bright. It gets choppy because you were in such a choppy area, but you got to be objective. Look at previous kind of bear markets. I mean, you were kind of bearish for a bit here. And if we just want to get a timeline on, when you could potentially bottom, I don't think it's going to go this low. Don't get scared. Don't worry. But, May, a lot of things point to May. So maybe $1.15 in May, and that would be like your really good deal. And again, you could outperform Bitcoin during that area. And if we look at XRP versus Bitcoin, I drew this out. You're in a good kind of pattern here. Money flow coming up. Things look good on this evaluation right here for XRP versus Bitcoin. So I think over the next few years, potentially into the end of the decade, I think you may be able to make a rally upward, maybe 200-300% against Bitcoin. And I mean, I don't know. I would hope you can get back up to these all-time highs against Bitcoin back in, your 2017 bull run. That would be nice if you can do that. So I think the next 4 to 6 months, if you can kind of continue to outperform Bitcoin here, which it looks like you might, your money flow generally is not bad in a lot of these time frames. Your daily looks decent. So, as long as this can continue to outperform Bitcoin, I think we should be okay here.
And I've showed that on our channel many times where I think the XRP versus Bitcoin pairing is one of the best pairings in all of crypto. And this guy, who we don't share a lot of similar opinions about the future of crypto, but his analysis is exactly the same, where even if Bitcoin is headed into a bear market, he believes that the XRP price chart is going to outperform Bitcoin. Bitcoin could go down 60%. XRP may only go down about 45% from where we are today. I'd like to hear your thoughts, chat. One's in chat if you believe XRP will outperform Bitcoin. Two's in chat if you think Bitcoin outperforms XRP in a bit. I do want to give a special thank you to Noah here. He said, important thing to remember is that everyone's predictions are all contingent on events taking place. The current price action has zero effect on how things will look after adoption. That's a great comment. And again, this is the big caveat with Jake's theory, is that if the reverse carry trade plays out and XRP is tapped as a liquidity solution, then every TA analyst out there is wrong and Jake Claver is correct. And I had a great conversation with one of my friends yesterday where I'm like, guys, if Jake is right about his prediction, he is going to be the Michael Burry of our generation. It would be like if Michael Burry was a YouTuber who told everybody that the housing market was going to collapse for a year and a half prior. People allocated to that, and then they were able to profit. That's what Jake is doing here, guys. Jake, he's allocating his community to have the same opinions that he does. And I hope that really makes sense. When you look at where this space is headed, I mean, there's two theses here. There's the 4-year cycle narrative, the Raul Paul narrative, and then there's this completely other thing, which is the reverse carry trade with Jake. I think you got to take them very differently. If the Jake trade plays out, all this TA is irrelevant. If Jake's trade doesn't play out, the TA is actually most important. So chat, I'd love to hear. We did just pass 520 likes on the episode. If you're enjoying this content, you want to help us out, show us some love. smash that like button. Of course, share your thoughts in chat as well. And I want to give a big thank you to Noah for the $10 10-cent donation. That is greatly appreciated, my friend. And a big thank you to every single member here. Now, somebody asked me, will I be live on Monday for my birthday? Yes, I will be live Monday morning. Just like any other day, we'll have a show in the morning. I'm very excited about that. There's no other place I'd rather be on my 28th birthday than right here on GEC with all of you guys. So pretty cool. And I do want to play a couple more clips here. I'm going to dive into this just a little bit longer, this Jake clip, and then we'll get into some more content.
You're holding certain digital assets, XRP in particular. Again, at stake, this is not financial advice. Do not make financial decisions based on my information here. I'm just some guy on the internet, but I will continue to buy XRP every single day, leading up to the price appreciation that I do think is imminent here. So you make your own choices. We're all adults here, but I'm betting big on it. And if you think, you want to do some research and understand what you're doing, you probably do pretty well too. So again, I'm not sweating it. I know there's a lot of people out there chirping that I only have 20 days left or however many days it is left. I don't care. Again, I'm very confident in what I said. So if that's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. And I'll just say this, the results will speak for themselves at the end of it.
So guys, if Jake is right, imagine this. Let's indulge for a moment here, and then we'll get back into our articles for today. Imagine if in 3 weeks, XRP is $100. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys let me know. One's in chat if you believe we will see a triple-digit XRP. Let's even extend it. We have May in 2026. One's in chat for triple digits. Two's in chat for no. Again, I want to hear what the community has to say because it's really interesting. If we believe that there's going to be a liquidity crisis and XRP is tapped as the solution, then yes, this theory, very reasonable, outlined perfectly. Somebody said put a poll in chat. I think that's a really good idea, guys. So give me a moment. I'm going to throw a live poll out there in the chat to see what you all are thinking. Now, the question that we did ask you today already, will we get an alt season in 2026? We got 950 votes on that poll. Of those 950 votes, 84% say yes. So that's my opinion as well. I believe 2026, we do get an alt season for the XRP, Ethereum, Solana communities. And I think that a lot of our listeners feel the same way. When you just look at this market objectively and you say, where are we headed over these next 6-8 months? Well, the liquidity cycle, the debt cycle, my belief is that's far more important. Now, the question I'm going to put in here, do you believe, I'm going to do it live, guys, so I apologize here. Do you believe XRP can reach $100 by June 2026? Equals XRP greater than 100. No equals XRP less than 100. Thank you guys for your patience. Now that poll has been put in chat. I'd appreciate it, guys. If you can check it out, vote in the user poll. Let me know. I want to hear from our community. I want to know what you guys think so I know how to present this information on the show. I want to be as accurate and realistic as possible here on Good Evening Crypto. And it's one of the reasons that I show you guys so many different narratives, right? I show you the Raul Paul narrative, who believes the liquidity cycle is going to play out. We're going into a bull market. I show you the Evan and Paul Barron narrative, where he talked about how we're in a bear market and he thinks XRP to go to $1.15. I also show you the Jay Claver narrative, where he thinks the reverse carry trade is playing out and we're about to see economic growth like nobody is predicting. Off the charts, phenomenal, exuberant growth here inside the United States. And the most important part of that is somehow, some way, one of those theories will end up being correct. Time will tell, my friends, but I want to hear from the live chat. 72% of the nearly 300 votes we got in just about 60 seconds here, 72% say yes. That means a large portion of our community thinks massive economic change is on the horizon and XRP is set to capitalize on that. I actually fall into the same camp. Said, calm your hopium, dudes and dudettes. I agree with this as well. Be realistic. If it doesn't play out, if your thesis changes, be very objective about that. Now, Jake, he has a crystal ball in the background. I don't have a crystal ball in my background, so I'm not as privy to some of the analysis that he said, but I do want to give a big thank you to Wifey Haynes here, the 256th member of the Good Evening Crypto community, and you guys can all check out the fun updates that we do for all of our members. Now, let's get back into the most important information here. What are we seeing inside the United States? Summarized, institutional adoption. And I think Jake is right. If all this plays out before the Clarity Act is passed, XRP is in a really unique position to capitalize on the economic chaos for the Japanese reverse carry trade. And I'm going to do a breakdown later on today, going over this chart right here, where for the first time since 2005, Japan's 10-year interest rates are above 2%. Now, that is really interesting because this is exactly what Jake outlined months and months ago. And he told the XRP community, this reverse carry trade combined with a spike in oil will lead to the XRP transition that we've all been talking about. And it seems like a lot of people in chat believe in that thesis. I'm very open-minded to the idea, but I'm very hesitant to fully adopt this idea that we could see XRP go to several $100s in value. I want to be objective. I want to be realistic. And my intuition says it's going to take some time. It's going to take some adoption. Like, even if we throw out this bearish thesis, right? Let's say the bears are right. And for some reason, we're in a bear market and this market ends up bottoming out sometime in the summer of 2026. Well, congratulations to you guys, because our community, we're going to be able to buy those lows and then ride this journey up for the next 3 years. I couldn't be more excited about that. I got to experience that back in 2021 when I was buying 20-cent XRP and 40-cent XRP and then 70-cent XRP. And people are like, you're buying a stable coin. You should be owning Solana. You should be owning Ethereum. Why aren't you talking about, this meme coin project? And instead, I put all that noise to the side and I said, I know what I own. And I was proven correct in November of 2024 with the election of Donald Trump. We entered a pro-crypto era here inside the United States, and Ripple is working hand in hand with the United States government to not only regulate this industry, but to integrate blockchain products into traditional finance. Someone said, bro, the elites in control are going to implement this system at a snail's pace. I love what Planet has to say. That guy's awesome. He's always here kind of commenting in chat as well. So shout out to you, my man. I also want to give a shout out to KG, guys. For all those who don't know, KG is the OG of the Good Evening Crypto community. Let's get some KGs in chat. We got to show some appreciation to our loyal members. And I got to give a big shout out and thank you to all the people who show up every day. It's been phenomenal. The positive feedback I've received on this channel over the last couple of months, it makes me so encouraged, so optimistic. And I want to give a big thank you to Erica. She said, price is now $1.99. Great opportunity to buy more. And good morning, everyone. Well, good morning, Erica. Thank you for your comment. And these are the opportunities that me and Johnny constantly talk about. The $2 iron wall for XRP, right? If this thing holds, we are looking at a higher low for the XRP price chart. And my anticipation is starting in early 2026 with this liquidity cycle being extended and playing out, my belief is, and I've been very transparent this whole time, that we are going to see some major momentum. So institutions, and I want to give credit here. This person said, stop BSing, but let's break down what he has to say. Let's address his frustration. So institutions are all buying OTC for ETFs, yet now Ripple will start selling the rights to the escrow $1 billion a month. How the hell are we ever going to hit market and raise value? Stop BSing. Now, this is a justified comment, but I have a rational response to this. There's only so much XRP available on planet Earth, right? We like to talk about the idea of the escrow and how important that is, but what do we know for sure? When the Clarity Act is passed in late 2026, no company or single entity will be able to own more than 20% of a token without it being considered centralized. Ripple is fully incentivized to get that XRP into the hands of people who will use it. And when you say who are those people, well, this article right here that we're covering this morning might be some great insight. Santander, Bank of America, and SBI Holdings have all already tested Ripple and the XRP's technology. That means that we could see major momentum because they're going to have to sit on these large hordes of XRP. Someone said, are you good, Abs? You seem kind of mad today. I don't know why. I hope I don't seem mad. I'm feeling totally normal. It's a great day in the Matrix, my friends, as I like to say. We are 33 minutes into today's episode. We already passed over 620 likes, so I'm feeling great about that. I want to give a special thank you and shout out to the best community in all of crypto and attitude of gratitude, my friends. I got to be honest, put all this information to the side and say, how am I feeling about the crypto space? I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I feel like great things are happening on a daily basis. And I feel like some of this price action is manipulated. It's misleading. It's BS, just like that guy's comment was, right? But Marcus commented, thank you for the $5 donation. What do you think about BC backers saying the market topped back in January? Well, I don't know. I didn't watch that video, but I would say from a literal market cap standpoint, the market peaked in September. So I'm not sure why he would be saying it peaked in January. Fill me in there. I'd love to share some thoughts, but I didn't get a chance to watch his video, so I can't give you kind of the most up-to-date news for today, guys. But we are 35 minutes in, got 6,400 live listeners here. If you enjoy this content, smash that like button. Let me know some of your thoughts in chat, because I always like to hear from the live chat, see what you guys are thinking. And here's what I would say. Even if we see a $4 to $6 XRP, we never got alt season. We have not been through an alt season yet here in 2025. And we saw this big news yesterday, the Federal Reserve reducing interest rates once again by 25 basis points. This is really mundane. This is par for the course, I would say. Someone said Abs is just a bit spicy that he's almost 28. A shout out to you guys. I'm aging before your very eyes. And you know what's pretty funny is that I was on the phone with a friend last night, a different one, and he was talking about crypto, and he's like, this is happening and that's happening. We just got to be patient. And I'm like, dude, I've owned XRP since 2019. That's 7 years in about a couple of weeks. That is 25% of my 28-year lifespan that I've held this digital asset. The last thing anybody needs to coach me on is patience, right? Patience is not an issue right here on the Good Evening Crypto community. And I hope our listeners feel the same way, where they're looking at this space, they're looking at the macroeconomic circumstances, and they're not being swayed by some of the misleading price action. One thing that we know, someone said, you guys are funny, guys. I appreciate you all. And somebody said, one of the things that we know for sure is that when the Clarity Act is passed, it's going to change the way that institutions interact with this space. So that's going to be a big fundamental difference here. Now, I did want to address the poll once again. We have 500 votes on the user poll now. Do you believe XRP can reach $100 by June of 2026? Yes, says 71% of the 550 votes on today's user poll. 29% say no. Believe it or not, guys, you know, I always want to be unbiased. I think no. I think it's more unlikely than likely that we see a triple-digit XRP in the next 6 months. Now, here's the optimistic take. My belief is that by the end of the Trump administration, I'm talking late 2028, early 2029, we could easily see a triple-digit XRP, especially if Ripple expands the RLUSD stablecoin and their custody service the way that I'm anticipating here. Now, somebody else commented, the crypto couple with the $5 donation, much appreciated. And big thank you to all of our listeners here, guys. My computer's just glitching out. I'm trying to find your comment. Here's what they said. The Clarity Act does not apply to Ripple. They don't control the escrow, only $1 billion at a time. Possible workaround in the language. Lawyers will see to it. Now, that's a great, you know what? This comment reminds me, I'm friends with Metal Lawman and Fred Rispoli, if you guys know who they are. I'm going to send them a couple of text messages after the stream and see, can they explain this in a simple manner for me, right? If you're talking about a lawyer's insight, those are two of the best in the space. So I do want to give a big thank you. And Mario, this guy, he's been in the XRP community. I almost said the Good Evening Crypto community. Mario's been in the XRP community here since 2017. And he said, patience is the P in XRP, right? It's absolutely applicable. So again, I think a lot of exciting things are happening. Let's tamper expectations. Let's hold for the long term, and let's focus on the real developments while the price action catches up. And to wrap it up here, guys, we got a major announcement out of G Treasury this morning, and this thing really speaks for itself. This company was acquired by Ripple about 4 months ago. Here's what they had to say on X. Most treasury systems are forced to artificial choice, legacy rails, or unproven digital assets. Well, leading CFOs are waving goodbye to that binary. Ripple and G Treasury combined 40 years of treasury expertise with proven payment infrastructure serving hundreds of financial institutions. The results? A rail-agnostic platform that works across SWIFT, ACH, wires, and blockchain networks with zero vendor lock-in. CFOs are using this approach to enable 24/7 settlement and cutting cross-border payment costs by 60 to 90%. While adopting new capabilities on their own timeline. Learn more about this at the CFO's Evaluate Infrastructure analysis here. Now, what I do think is great about this, guys, is SWIFT is included in this. G Treasury is included in this. We are watching the financial rails be built, and we're starting to see them be implemented here in 2025. If you enjoyed this content, show us some love, smash that like button. Big thank you, guys. As the goal for today was 800 likes, we already passed 712 likes on today's episode. And if you missed the analysis earlier, we did cover the breaking news that the 21SHARES XRP spot ETF is live on the CBOE. Now, Franklin Templeton is still a big dog in the market. They've done about $3.2 million worth of volume today. Canary Capital, $2.5 million. Bitwise, $2.3 million. 21SHARES has done about 146,000 in total volume. So lacking on that initial ETF launch. And as you guys can tell, there is a real advantage to moving first in these ETF launches. Canary Capital only has about 200 million in assets under management. They're already custodying over $260 million worth of XRP alone. So that's massive, guys. If you enjoyed today's show, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all in the next one.
About that over there on Good Evening Crypto with Abs and Johnny, if you guys want to go watch that one.
You're going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. See, the bottom line is, well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news.
So if you're looking to implement the same strategies that we do here on Good Evening Crypto, I would encourage all of our listeners to click on the Merlin link below and sign up for ITrust Capital as well. Now, why are our listeners going to do this? By leveraging the Merlin application, you can create a profit plan for yourself so you know exactly where you're going to be exiting this market. But leveraging ITrust through a Roth IRA product, you can take advantage of tax-free crypto gains during this crypto bull market. So I would encourage everybody, click on the link down below, sign up for ITrust today, and take advantage of our $100 free sign-up bonus.